All right. Welcome, Outposters. Let me make sure that everything is running here properly, that we're getting good sound. Yes, we are. In fact, I'm probably a little loud. I'll push this mic back just a little bit because it's pegging out at the red line, and that's never good. It is really loud. Let me see what's going on here. Let me just turn it down just slightly. Okay. Ben, how you be?
Doing good. You?
Yeah, I'm doing great. So, welcome to another Outpost Frequencies. I'm Yoda. With me is Ben. Dom is 2 hours behind us, and I think that he is probably still sleeping off some horrible binge that he's probably in jail. Let's face it, he's probably in jail. So we'll see. He may call in a little bit later. But thank you very much for joining us today on Outpost Frequencies. I am Yoda. This is Ben. We are part of lastmovieoutpost.com. If you like this video, I want to try to get this out of the way, and I'll do it again at the end because I always do. But please like, share, subscribe. And if you enjoy what we do, if you enjoy our videos, share these videos out. Give us a like. Subscriptions would be great. I'm trying to get up to 500 subscriptions so I can get on with some various collaboration type services, and hopefully get on with some, get some interviews and some different people into this thing. Not that you aren't always lovely to look at, Ben, but always like to get some get some people in here and we can interview them together or something like that. So I'll keep them away from Dom, though. I'm not that crazy. So we got another day of movie news, and I wanted to discuss, well, why don't we talk about some of the movie news that's out there? And I think you had a good one before we started the show I wanted to talk about, and that was that why isn't HBO Max on Roku?
And Peacock.
Peacock is also not on Roku. So I don't understand. Roku is one of the bigger ones out there. It's in all the Walmarts. It's easy to get. I like the system myself. It seems to be pretty solid as opposed to my Samsung TV, which, by the way, does have HBO Max and it does work very well. But I've never been able to get my DirecTV Now, or I guess they call it AT&T TV Now. It always locks up when I play a recording off of the cloud. I mean, it just completely hoses the TV. And I have other little issues with the TV. I mean, Samsung does an okay job, but Roku is. I like it because I can, buy a different TV.
Well, right. See, I've got two TVs. I've got two Rokus, and I've got Amazon Prime's on there, Netflix is on there, the Roku channel, baseball, which starts tonight. The
that's right.
Season televised games will be on there, I think, starting tonight.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of free channels like that Popcorn and that Fubo or whatever. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different channels on there. But everything should be on that. I don't know how you can release a streaming service and not have it available on that platform.
Do you think it's?
I mean, it's two of them.
Do you think it's similar to the issues that you every once in a while, like DirecTV or Spectrum or your local cable provider will suddenly not have a particular channel, won't have Fox, or they won't have ESPN or something like that because they're in negotiations? Are they similar?
Do. I do.
Okay.
I think it has to be. I mean, I don't understand. I've got Sling on that thing. I've got everything, but I don't understand what's the hang up here. Like, you get if I pay for it, if I pay the $15 a month or whatever it is, hell, Disney Plus is on there, and that thing's a disaster. If I pay $15 a month for HBO Max, shouldn't I be able to watch it on devices? You need cable to have it. It looks like a lot of the time.
Yeah.
If you have Fios, you can have it. If you have this and that, you can have it. But if you're a cord cutter, forget it.
Well, and of course they put it on Android and they put it on the phones first. Which, okay, great. I can watch it on my phone, but when you're watching something like HBO Max or you're watching something, I don't know, if you're trying to watch something good and epic or something like that, you want it on your big screen, and I can't do it. Maybe if I get lucky, sometimes if I have the right TV, I can just kind of Chromecast it up there. But I don't understand it. I don't get why it's like that.
It's dumb. It's stupid. Well, so you know what it is, maybe. So Comcast owns Universal. Universal owns NBC. Maybe they think, maybe there's an arrogance there that this Peacock is going to be in such demand that we want people to have cable and Comcast for this service. And then Warner Brothers is the same thing with AT&T, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Because HBO is owned by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers is owned by AT&T.
So who owns Roku? Are they their own deal, or do we know?
I think that they are, but I don't know. So somebody's going to post in the comments or something. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Roku's owned by, but I think it's its own thing.
I think so too. Of course, Amazon has their Fire Stick. And everybody is trying to give the finger to Amazon. And I think the same. It's kind of funny. It's like, well, we'll put it on the Apple iOS, but we won't put it on the Apple TV. Things like that. So all this fighting, I'm like, all you're doing is cutting off major swaths of your customer base.
Yeah.
And pissing them off.
I mean, I was going to give them the money, but now I'm not going to give them the money.
I am giving them the money.
I can't watch it.
Yeah, I can watch it. I am giving them the money on the... Earl said he just got up and he's starting on Family Breakfast. If I make it, I'll see you there. That's fine. He can jump on whenever he's ready. It says my stream status is very poor, so I apologize for that, but I am recording this. And if it's too awful, I'll just upload the recording. So it's not a big deal. I don't know why I'm having so many problems with my stream. But one moment it says it's awesome, the next moment it says it's terrible. So go figure.
I think it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about something terrible, it's good. And if it's talking about something bad, it's good. It's bad. As
soon as we start shitting on the Disney Plus, man, it starts going to hell. Disney Plus at least has been available on everything. I'll give them that.
But their content.
There's nothing to watch.
got coronavirus, I guess, right? I mean, I guess everybody shut down things. But here's the thing, like, Cobra Kai. I heard that was done, that they were completely done shooting. And then they stopped doing everything. It was delayed 6 months because of the coronavirus. I don't understand why. But I think that probably had more to do with them finding it. But they also were finding a new place to air it.
Netflix.
They were in negotiations. Yeah. So where was it going to air? So I think that was more probably really going on behind the scenes on that than some of this other stuff. But the Scarlet Witch and the Falcon, those two shows, Scarlet Witch, I think, was supposed to start airing the first week of August. And it's, who knows? Who knows when it's going to air?
But I have no idea.
I mean, but, people were talking about this. People paid for a full year of this thing with the expectation that they were going to get the Star Wars stuff and they were going to get all these Marvel shows, these two big Marvel shows that were going to be the big lead-ins to all the next movies. You had to watch these series in order for the movies to make as much sense as possible. Well, it's going to be October, and guess what? They're not going to have any of those two Marvel shows. Neither one of them is going to be on there, I think.
It doesn't look like it. I'm really mystified why they can't get some. Like, they put all this stuff out and they announce all this stuff that they hadn't started yet. And so it was all going to be at least 2 years out. I mean, you're going to say, well, we're going to do this What If animation show, which I always loved the What If stuff from back in the day when they did, What If Uncle Ben hadn't died and things like that.
My favorite is What If the original Marvel bullpen became the Fantastic Four?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Stan Lee is Mr. Fantastic.
Of course he is.
Kirby's the Thing. Roz. What's her name? Flo Steinberg was the Invisible Girl, and I think it was Sal Brodsky was the Torch.
Sure.
But it was drawn by Kirby. It was a great one.
I love those. So they announced this. You're announcing an animated show. I don't know if it's computer anime or just regular. Either way, that takes years to get going. It takes at least a year to get your first few episodes, in the can.
Unless you're South Park and you can just make one in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, but those guys have so much cocaine running through their. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, they've all. But still, it wasn't like they had to get all the computer software and all the the character designs and models and everything ready to go first. And then the guys just, I think they animate it live. Yeah, the commercial break. Now, come on, catch up. But yeah, Disney announced all this stuff. I guess they got the Falcon and Winter Soldier pushed back now till the first part of next 21.
Both of them have to be 21.
Yeah.
Both of those shows.
I know they're trying to get the Mandalorian out, but the problem with Disney Plus is it's like, I mean, it's not like they don't have a plethora of content. They have a ton of content. It's just this content ranges all the way back 80 years. And some of it 90 or 100 years. I mean, some of this came out in the 20s, like their original Steamboat Willie crap. And you go, okay, this is nothing everybody hasn't seen a million times.
Right.
Sorry.
I have it on my Roku, but no one ever watches anything on there. We watched Treasure Island, and we were like, "This sucks." and then we watched. The only thing I liked was that Imagineering show. That's the best thing on there.
Yeah, that and the Mandalorian.
But that Imagineering, I did an article on it. It's just like the history of the Disney parks and all the stuff that they did from the 50s on, and it's great. But
I really liked the Imagineering show. I think it was great. They need to do more stuff like that. I did find some old documentaries and things. My mom, she's telling me, she's like, when I was a kid, this is like in the 50s, right? And they took the whole school down in the assembly, and they took them to the gym or something, and there was no VCR, so there was full film projector of a documentary Disney had done called the Great Plains or the Great Prairies of the Plains or something like that.
Yeah,
and it's on there on Disney Plus. And I started it up for it, and it was really cool to see her you could see her just go back to being a little girl again. Yeah. And I mean, she's in her 70s, and to see something that was probably pretty hard to find. So that kind of stuff I really appreciate, that they have this huge library. But the problem is that most of the more famous stuff, the stuff that about, is it's all there, and you've seen it on VHS, you've seen it on TV, you've seen it on DVD, you've seen it on Blu-ray, you've seen it, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's nothing new coming out. So I do like going through some of the old stuff. I do appreciate that HBO Max has a pretty decent a library from Turner Classic Movies, and there's a lot of older.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. But one other thing on Disney Plus I haven't watched. Spite their face.
Because no one will watch it with me in my house. Is they have a show about props. Have you watched that prop show?
I haven't. I keep meaning to.
It's like they find props from Mary Poppins and bring Dick Van Dyke in there to look at them. and it's all different stuff for the different time periods.
Oh, wow.
A lot of the older movies. Sorry, I sorry to interrupt you. I just thought I'd
No, it's all right. It's all right.
I will watch that at some point, I think, if I can.
I will give that a shot. I keep meaning to watch it. We're back to Extreme Excellent again. Tal Pilot says, very few cartoons are broadcast live. It's a terrible strain on the animator's wrists. This is true. I don't know where you pulled that from. I remember that, but that's see, the problem is nowadays they don't have to draw them. It's all done on a computer. So I don't think that they have to actually draw them out anymore. So they can do them live now. For instance, you and I are just, human cartoons at this point. So we're doing it live.
Speaking of cartoons, did you want to talk about that new Star Trek show that you're really excited about?
No. Okay, so what I term this is that Discovery, Picard, all this stuff is like Star Trek on life support. That's just, it's got the tubes in it and everything else. And Star Trek Lower Decks is just pulling the plug. That's it. They're done. It's a terrifyingly bad from what I saw. It looks extremely woke. Like the leader.
Is it woke AF? Is it AF?
Yes. Woke AF. It's got the leader of the little brigade is a diverse, strong female, and the dippy idiots are white guys, and then there's a female who's probably the most interesting on the show because she isn't as strong. I think she's an alien or something. But it's all done with, tongue-in-cheek family. I don't know if it's quite to Family Guy or Simpsons, but it certainly is down that road. And, I feel like Star Trek used to be like this classy show. Like, they would never stoop to put rock and roll in it. Or back in the 60s, they wouldn't put modern stuff in there. They would always... In fact, they kind of look down on the 20th century. What
about the space hippies, though?
Well, and considered one of the worst episodes ever made. I'm not saying.
What's the worst Star Trek episode? I'm going to go with the alternative factor. Is that the one with that guy thinks he's Jesus in outer space?
He doesn't think he's. One. I don't know what he thinks he is, but it has to do with
that episode.
It has to do with the antimatter universe and the matter universe. It's just
this guy walking around and he sits on a rock for like 10 minutes.
It's terrible.
That one's bad. That one where Kirk goes back to ancient Greece and a midget rides him like a horse.
No, that was so they go to this planet where everybody has mind powers, and it has to do with some mineral in the food, and so they inject themselves with like 3 times or 4 times as much. I actually kind of dig that one. It's kind of funny, but it's not as bad. Like the message in that one still is good. It's like these people are crappy because of what they do, and you're not crappy. Even though you're small and they've told you that, and again, we're talking back in the 60s, so you got to go, you got to look through it a little bit through the lens of that period. But the message is fine. And Space Hippies was just terrible. The alternative factor was terrible.
You know what I hate? The absolute nadir to me, Miri.
I never liked that episode, yeah.
It was that guy, there's an actor, I can't stand him. He plays he's like 30 years old, but he's playing like a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know the guy I mean?
Yeah, he was in Tango and Cash.
And he was in Bonnie and Clyde, the 67.
That's right. He was in Bonnie and Clyde.
I cannot stand that guy.
Really? I like him okay. Yeah. I just don't like that episode. And it's another one where Bones comes up with the cure in 10 minutes. We need him for this fucking COVID thing. That's what we need. Bones would have this shit licked by now.
Did you hear that a vaccine may be impossible because even if they develop one, it'll only last for like a couple months or something?
Well, it's the same with the flu vaccine, right? You got to get a different one every time.
Yeah.
I don't do the flu vaccines, and it's not because I'm anti-vax. I'm not. I think vaccines are very important for most of the big diseases, the polios and all that kind of stuff. I do all that kind of stuff. But the flu vaccines, every single time I've gotten the flu vaccine,
you got sick.
I got sicker than a dog. Like,
me too.
Beyond anything I've ever had when I don't get the flu vaccine. And it's like, so
Yeah,
I got one of those bodies that just doesn't like it, or I don't know. But I've had the worst flus when I've had the flu vaccine. So I'm saying, fuck this shit. So
that's why I am too. My kids get it. My wife gets it. They're all fine. But every time I get it, I get the flu.
It's terrifying.
See, I shouldn't have gotten this vaccine.
Yeah.
This flu shot.
Maybe it's coincidence. Maybe I got something else. I don't know. But when it happened twice, I was like, okay, I'm done. So I'm not trying to say don't get your flu vaccine. If you get the COVID vaccine, I probably would go get that one.
That's one. You know what? Here's the way I feel about that. Let 100 million people have it first, and then maybe I'll do it.
Hey,
let's see how it shakes out first. I don't want to be. I'm not going to be first in line. I'll put it that way.
I may have already had it for all I know. I mean, I had something just before this whole thing went to shit, like in February.
Why don't you go get a antibodies test?
Because that involved me going outside, and I have no interest in that.
The sun might get on you.
Yeah,
the sun might get on me.
He got the light to my coffin.
Well, here's the stuff that's interesting with on this coronavirus thing. Everybody's harping on these masks, which is fine. I wear the damn thing when I go outside. Well, not when I'm outside, but when I go into a place.
Right. Well, they're making us now. Kansas has decided you got to do it now.
So you know what? I just wear it. Like, I don't care. It's not a battle. It's like it's not a battle I'm going to die on. I'm not going to die on a hill for it. Right. It's not important to me. But the stuff everybody's harping on the mask. Nobody's talking about blood type. That determines not if you get it, but how severe your case is likely to be.
Yeah.
So if you're an O blood type, you're much better off than if you're an A. And then the other thing is vitamin D, the sun. I'm taking vitamin D supplements, and I'm spending a lot of time outside.
Belching your brains out.
Because this disease doesn't like sunlight, doesn't like vitamin D. So people that are deficient in vitamin D are more likely to get sick than others.
Seems like a vampire flu.
Yeah. Anne Rice's next book, she's working on it right now.
COVID, yeah. Interview with COVID.
Lestat gets a vampire.
Lestat's got snot coming down. He just looks terrible.
And then the Mayfair witches show up, and they have to do some stuff. See, I kind of got out, like when she started crossing everything over into everything being all combined. You got the vampires with the Mayfair witches, with the mummy, with whatever else there is. It's all one thing now.
Are we going to do the ARCU, the Anne Rice Cinematic Universe?
I don't know.
I think that's next.
But I think that somebody should make the Vampire Lestat into something because that book is awesome. That's like the best book.
Did you like Interview with a Vampire, the movie?
The movie? I read the book before it came out, and I thought it was okay. I thought Tom Cruise was better than I expected by quite a bit.
Yeah.
As Lestat. But when I read that book, Lestat was a bad guy, and Lewis was the good guy. And then when Vampire Lestat came out, then Lestat's the good guy for the whole rest of the thing. But I thought he was good as the sort of evil version of Lestat. I liked him. Tom Cruise.
That was when Kristen...
she was the best thing in that movie, I thought.
She was great.
Kristen Dunst's Claudia.
Dunst. Yeah, she was amazing in that part, and I feel like she peaked. I don't know that she's done anything since then that's been anywhere near as good. I know everybody knows her more for Spider-Man and that kind of thing, but as far as her best acting work,
It's like Christina Ricci and that Addams Family.
Addams Family, man, that's olive. That's Shelley Duvall olive oil levels of merging into a character. So, yeah, I'm glad you've kept me distracted because I didn't want to talk anymore about that stupid Star Trek logo. I'm just gonna say, do not watch it. It looks, I said, I thought Star Trek was always kind of classic. Like they did a lot of classical music in it, and they always were quoting Shakespeare, and it's like all the popcorn bullshit that we deal with now. It's all long forgotten, and it's the classics and the stuff that really expands your mind that became good. And now it's just like we're making a Family Guy in Star Trek. Fuck you.
Well, here's what I could say about Star Trek. Star Trek was a thing made by military guys. All these guys were World War II, Korean veteran guys. I mean, the guys behind the scenes, designing the ships, writing the thing, coming up with these concepts. Everybody had a military background.
Yeah.
Working on the show. And now no one does now. It's all a bunch of whatever. It's a bunch of whatever. I don't even know what those. It's
millennial
typical
idiots.
Hollywood people now. And you know what? I'll take a David O. Selznick and a John Wayne over whoever we have today. I'll put it that way.
Well, yeah. I mean, none of these people have actually lived anything worth a damn. I mean, their whole life is meta now, right? They gotta be. Everything's got to be so meta, and there's nothing sincere made anymore. And that's. I mean, there is, but it's hard. You really have to look for it.
Well, it's hard. The other thing that's prevalent, and this is another segue into something we wanted to talk about. Everything's going to have a gimmick. It's got to have a diversity gimmick or a gimmick for nothing's just normal. Everything needs an angle. They had to have the girl needed to be the Jedi, which is cool. For the sequel trilogy, the girl was going to be the lead Jedi or the black guy. They sort of kept it ambiguous with the marketing of that 7. But I don't think anybody had a problem with that. It was something different. It's a galaxy far, far away. They've got a whole bunch of different things in the Star Wars universe, aliens, and all this stuff. So I don't think anybody had a problem with that.
Do you remember? Let me interrupt you for a second here. Do you remember before we get into this really deep? Do you remember when they were doing the marketing of the first trailer came out for Episode 7? And we saw Rey on the land speeder, and we saw Finn just sit, and he was clearly a stormtrooper. And then there was a whole bunch of Twitter stuff. There was a whole bunch of Twitter backlash against people being upset about there being a black stormtrooper. But I never saw any lash. I never saw anything that said, I'm upset that there's a black stormtrooper. The closest it came is that people were confused because they thought that all the stormtroopers were clones. That was it. So they thought it should have looked like Tamora Morrison. What's with the black guy? But not because he was black, because they were just confused. But there was tons and tons of virtue signaling assholes going, "Hey, we're not gonna put up with this racist that says there can't be a black stormtrooper." I was like, "Where? But you can't find it anywhere. There was none. It was bullshit. It was lies." And
can I say something about that trailer? That trailer was.
Let me brace myself.
That was one of the worst trailers. I mean,
the teaser one.
Yeah. When he stands up in the desert, that's the first shot, and it was like, I didn't care for it at all. BB-8, I didn't like it at all when I saw that trailer.
I didn't. Well, to be fair, I mean, it was like a year plus. It was like 13 months before the movie came out, so that's probably all they had. It was
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was Thanksgiving.
So I think that now I'll flip it around on you. I think the second trailer came out, the Chewie We're Home trailer, is one of the best trailers I'd ever seen.
Yeah, it was all right. It was good.
I mean, as far as doing what it was supposed to do and getting you ready to go and building to a crescendo and then having that moment at the end, that's in a pure marketing term, that is out of the park.
Yeah, it was good.
So, and then the movie came out.
Well, here's what. That movie made a lot of money. You want to know why?
Because of the
It was
original
a Star Wars
trilogy.
movie that had Han Solo in it.
Yeah.
The real Han Solo.
Yeah.
And Chewie, and then
And Leia.
Luke got stiffed.
Yeah, Luke got jobbed bad, but he got jobbed in the entire. He did. You know what? I would take everything that he did in Force Awakens than I would in Last Jedi, though.
You mean he stood there looking like he wanted to start crying?
Well, at least it's like, okay, he looks like a wise man on a hill. There's all sorts of things you can think of why he's there, And then you see Last Jedi, go, oh, that's why.
So, you know what I thought was going to be in that second movie? I know the word side. I don't want to talk about Star Wars too much. Let me just say one thing. I thought that second movie was going to be Luke had a secret school, because remember, he left. I thought he was going to have he wasn't going to really be in exile. Like, he was going to be like doing Luke stuff. He'd have a secret school on this planet that no one knew about with a handful of students. He was restarting it all up. Maybe he had a wife and a family, and they were all Jedi, and they had some additional kind of students.
So you thought that he was anything except for what they showed, which was an absolute loser.
Yeah.
You were not having the word loser in your head when you saw this.
I mean, I didn't think he was going to just be on that planet by himself. Like, I thought that there was going to be something going on.
Yeah, maybe he's like, I'm containing some really heavy Sith stuff here. I'm making sure that it doesn't get out.
I thought he was going to have he didn't have a storyline. I didn't think Luke was nowhere because Luke didn't have a storyline and wasn't doing anything.
No. Everything, I guarantee, everybody made up in their head was better than what we got.
I agree. And then the other thing was my biggest problem with The Last Jedi. Why does Rey need to translate for Chewie to Luke?
That gets into our diversity. So
yes.
So I'm listening to Tim Pool a few days ago, and he brought up an interesting term that I think we need to get out there in the lexicon more. You've heard of like toxic masculinity. That's the only one we use. But I think there is this thing between diversity and toxic diversity. And that was the term he came up with. And I think that there is a lot of toxic diversity. So I'll go through my little story of how I decided to come up with this topic. But I'm thinking back to when, and it all starts with Star Wars for us Gen Xers, let's face it. But we watch Star Wars. It is what it is. It's a very white movie, but we don't notice that. We just don't. We just watch the movie. I think, I don't know. But then you get to Empire Strikes Back and Billy D. Williams comes out. I don't notice that it's a black guy. I notice it's Billy D. Williams. I notice this very cool guy named Lando Calrissian comes out, who has, by the way, the greatest downshift in movie history when he sees Leia. He's like, "Hey, Han, good to see you. What are you doing?" "Hello, what do we have here?" "Hi, I'm Lando. Would you like a Colt 45?" I mean, it is phenomenal. It's like you knew that was the coolest guy out there. I didn't care he was black. I didn't notice. I didn't care. Yeah. Then you go through all the great movies of the 80s. You like Alien. It's very diverse cast, right? Black guy. Yeah. You got some women. Very diverse. And then the woman is the one that ends up winning. And then she becomes an action hero later on. Again, in Aliens 2, you got a very diverse cast. You got Vasquez, you got the black sergeant who leads the whole thing. I didn't notice these things. I just didn't notice these things. They weren't...
Oh, I got something about Vasquez. This is good casting. Hold on, let me say something about this.
She's actually a white
lady. Vasquez was really Jewish?
She was the lady...
I only found that out a couple years ago, and I thought that was kind of blew me away.
It's the lady in Terminator 2 who puts the milk through. The mom.
Yeah.
It's the same person. I'm like, okay, she's a great actress. I mean, now they'd call that. whitewashing or something, right? Like they put her in a Hispanic role, but she was great.
Was good. Yeah.
And I'm like going, okay, but all of this shit I just didn't notice. It wasn't important. I didn't care. Now we get to 2010s, 2015, whatever, and you start they're shoving it down your throat. Like it was.
Let's go back a bit to like Alias. Alias was sort of you had Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
yeah,
and you had Alias, you had Xena, and everybody liked these shows. They were good shows. People liked them. They were fun.
Great. So why? What is the difference between so what? Okay, so let's take a recasting that we really liked, Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, we both agree.
We both agree that making Starbuck a woman and making Boomer a woman, and then she turned out to be a Cylon, and all the different things that they did with that show, that the casting really, really worked.
Yeah, and you know what? And the writing was good, and they cast the right people.
And don't forget,
if they would have cast, if they would have cast somebody like, and I mean, Alias, Buffy, all these shows, the leads were cast well. I mean, you cast the right person.
Right.
Katie Sackhoff, like I was saying, she's not the most beautiful woman in the world, but she's got charisma, and people like her.
Yeah.
I mean, and Jennifer Garner, I mean, she looks great. Mm-hmm. She's fun to watch. The Buffy cast, same thing.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I mean, I mean, you've got, and the Willow and all those other people, Dushku. I mean, people, they got the right people for the right roles.
Well, if you remember, Colonel Ty in the 70s was a black guy. And then they changed him to the white guy with the eye
Canadian.
Patch. Yeah.
The most, and then Adama was Lauren Green, and then he was Edward James Olmos.
Yeah.
Who looked like, as I like to put it, on Battlestar Galactica, Adama looks like he should be working in a pizza parlor, flipping pizzas with that mustache, and he's like 70 pounds overweight, and he looks terrible. I mean, the guy didn't look like Steve McQueen ever, but I mean, he looked terrible on that show.
So you look at Battlestar Galactica and you say they switched around race and gender all over the place, both towards white and away from white, and it was good. And it was good because in the story that they were trying to tell, it worked much better for the show. Well, I think it worked. They were trying to tell a bit of a different story that was much more theological in nature, much more philosophical in nature, and I think the relations and the things that they did with the Cylons, it all worked perfectly. I know people say I don't like the ending or whatever. Fine, but it wasn't the casting that was a problem, and I didn't care.
That show went off the rails to me. It started going off when they went to the planet, and there was like the 2-year gap. They did the 2-year gap, and they had the settlement. Some of that was okay, and then it went off the rail when they killed Starbuck, and then it was like Starbuck's a ghost or an angel or whatever the hell was going on that thing.
Cylon angel, yeah. It got weird, but it never got to the point that I wasn't compelled. I mean, I could disagree with some of it, but I watched it all the way through. I liked it.
I watched it all the way through, too. I mean, I've got criticisms, but the first 2 seasons of that thing were fantastic.
Oh, yeah. That first time, that I remember when Boomer shot Adama at the end of season 1, I think it was. Like, it was so... I mean, it's kind of obvious when you think about it, but it was so well done that I just fell off the couch, But I mean, that's my point. It's like this was good diversity, to my opinion, because it was because all the characters were treated like individuals and like human beings, and not like some political message. So we'll take the complete and utter opposite of that is Ghostbusters 2016, who not only put women in there for feminist reasons, I guess, I don't know. Because there was story after story. And those of you who haven't seen my Ghostbusters review, it's on the site. Please watch it.
Let me say something about this. That you could have made a good Ghostbusters with 4 female leads. I don't think that the concept is a bad concept. I don't think that it failed because they were women. I think it failed because it wasn't funny. I think it failed because the script was poor. The other thing was, and maybe it could have worked with those same people, but the script was bad. The writing was bad.
It wasn't just that they were bad, though. I mean, there is bad movies that just don't work. Like, I just watched, because I think somebody put it up on one of our talkbacks or something, the original Captain America movie, the one from 1990, which is a bad movie. But it's not insulting. Like, you feel like there's an earnestness to it that it just didn't work. But they tried to make a Captain America movie. I don't, maybe there wasn't enough money. Maybe there wasn't, they cast the wrong guy to play him. I don't know. But
I'm with you. Here's another one, a comedy that didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is maybe part of the same reason that Ghostbusters 2016 didn't work. Not all of it. I mean, the script of that movie was bad. But Neighbors, 1981. The problem with that movie, it's Bill Murray, it's Dan Aykroyd and it's John Belushi.
Yeah.
They switched. So Belushi was supposed to play the funny guy, and Aykroyd was supposed to play the straight man, the guy that was normal, like the straight-laced guy. And Belushi was supposed to be the crazy guy that did all this weird stuff. They switched roles the day before they started filming. I don't know if you knew that.
I had heard something along those lines. I always thought it was odd that Belushi was the straight guy. I mean, I guess I appreciate them trying something different, but here's the thing. Both of those movies are trying to do something for non-political reasons. They're just doing something and they're failing utterly.
Right.
Ghostbusters, it wasn't enough that they elevated females to the leads. They had to denigrate males in as a gender. Not like this one guy gets denigrated because he's a cocksucker. It's because all men are terrible and they need to be shown. So they're all shown as cowards. They're all shown as incompetents. They're all shown as mean and nasty. I even said that there's rape analogies in there. And you say, oh, really? Look, there's one scene where the guy who releases all the ghosts, who's the guy that's doing all this, the bad guy, he because of what he did, a ghost is in the shoulder of this old lady. It's like impregnated in her, Now, you say, well, that's stretching it, Mark, or I just said my name. That's stretching it, Yoda, on... Hi, I'm Mark. Good to see you. You say you're stretching it a little bit on the rape analogy. It's like, well, how about when the guy dies and he becomes a ghost? He does it on purpose to get all this ghost power and become an evil super villain ghost. The first thing he does is he jumps up into Abby, and then goo starts coming out of everywhere. He gets up into her and fills her with his goo. Well, he did that to he then ends up taking over Chris Hemsworth, and no goo came out of his nose and ears. So I mean, it's like it's not even subtle, this bullshit that they put in there. And then you watch things like Captain Marvel. You watch stuff like
Jurassic Park 5.
Yeah,
with Sassy Velma.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all these. I mean, I even liked Palm Springs, but then there's this one little moment where she goes, and they're in a time loop, right? I don't know if you watched my review on that one, but the Palm Springs is Andy Samberg and Kristen Milotti are in a time loop, and it's kind of a romantic comedy. But in order to get out of the time loop, she decides that she's just going to learn, with the time that she has, quantum field theory, because you can. You got YouTube. What? There's no. It's fine. Just do it. So I'm like going, come on. This is where I get into toxic diversity. It's like when doing stuff just to show us, to tell us that we know you as a white man are racist. And so we have to do this because we know you're racist, which is racist in and of itself. Right. But it's like going, okay, so now when I watch a movie and I see a guy in a role that or a minority or something like that, in a role that I wouldn't expect, or, I'm going, okay, was this a good change? Does this make sense? Was this a good actor for it? Or are they trying to insult me and shove diversity down my throat? Something I never had to think of before, which is insulting to the actors that have to play those parts and insulting to me as an audience member. And they don't, and the arrogance of these assholes trying to tell me all this stuff just is starting to stick in my craw because I can't watch a show anymore. You made me slightly more racist than I ever was because now I'm thinking of this crap. You bastards. I never had to worry about it before. But now you stick this shit in there and I have to think about it. So I never thought about race before. Now you make me think of it. Fuck you for doing this to me.
All right. So real quick, because I've only got a few minutes left, let's talk real quick about 007, then I got a motor. So they recast Moneypenny. They made Moneypenny black. They made her a field agent operative now instead of just instead of M's secretary. And then they also have that hipster guy that's Q.
Yeah.
So those are
the beta male.
Yeah, that guy sucks. So does, but like Moneypenny shoots 007 and off that crane.
That is an example. Can I just throw this in here? So there are two examples that I look at. It's like where they shoot themselves in the foot with this female empowerment stuff. Moneypenny she's an expert marksman, she's a field agent, but she fucks up and she shoots Bond. So you made her incompetent. Good job. Good job. Do you remember when they had the female scene in Avengers Endgame, which almost ruins the movie? Where all the women get together and say, and they're going to take the gauntlet, they're going to do it. But they fail. It's like, what? You failed. Why did you give them this big empowerment moment if they were just going to fail and the men had to clean up after them? You're shooting yourselves in the foot with this stuff. Oh, it drives me nuts.
I'll say one thing about the DCU. They never would have, let's put it this way, they never would have had a scene where Wonder Woman lost.
No.
Because she's the most popular thing they have.
So, have you read some of the stories that are coming out? Joss Whedon apparently is a horrible piece of shit.
Yeah, this is going to be my last thing because I got to go, but go ahead.
So, you remember the scene where Flash, I guess, saves Wonder Woman, but he ends up kind of on top of her, and then he jumps up? I guess Gal Gadot said that she didn't want Wonder Woman to be sexualized, which...
Well, he upskirted her like a million times in that thing.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I'm like going, okay... I guess they put in a body double for that moment, and he shot it anyway. I'm just like going, first of all, I don't think it was that sexual of a shot. It was just kind of like, oops, I get it, it's funny, move on. But I'm interested now more and more. I'm probably going to keep HBO Max long enough to see this damn Snyder cut, because let's face it, it's the only new thing that's coming out right now. So,
all right. Well, we can. I gotta get going because I have a prior engagement. But
I understand, sir.
You can. I think hopefully you'll have another joiner here soon.
Yeah, I'll look him up, see if he's coming on. If not, I'll be interested to see his stuff. Let's see. We are wrapping up with Ben, but Yoda is continuing.
All right, I'll see you later.
Ben, thanks for popping in, and
all right, we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. And those of you listening, if you would like to join me Take care of yourself, man. If you would like to join me, just if you have Skype, you can hit me up. Look for Rationalist Yoda, and I'll be happy to talk to you. In the meantime, let me talk to these. Let me look at these different chats we got here. So Kevin says, "Hey, peoples. Hey, Kevin. How are you? Good to see you." I hit the stream, and the first thing I hear is Yoda talking about the filling people up with goo. That's how I know I'm at LML. I'm glad I can help. My name is Mark 2, says Tile Pilot. Solidarity Fist Bump. Right back at you. Kevin, I watched your Palm Springs review. Still haven't watched it yet. Yeah, I honestly, I feel like I was a little harder on it than I should have been because I actually think it was entertaining. I enjoyed it a lot. Solid. Will I watch it again? Maybe once or twice. I don't know. It's not that. I mean, it's kind of like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know. It's good. It's not. I don't feel like it's that great. Hey, you're white. That's racist. Yes, just existing is racist. Kevin, I could call in for 20 minutes on a phone if that'll work. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to get you in like that. If I get Skype working on the phone, app was not loaded for some reason. Well, Kevin, I'll wait for you. That's not a problem. In the meantime, I will talk about a little. Let's see what's up on the movie news. And I'm not going to bring up my Google because apparently I start getting stream issues when I do that. But I left my phone in this other room. What a asshole I am. It's a wonderful Sunday morning. Nobody's here today. And I've got the day to myself. I am working on a couple of different videos. My next one is going to be another Overlooked, so I will keep working through that. And then I did one a while back that I never finished, and I feel like it's becoming relevant again, or maybe it's just one of those things that I just want to say that I finished. I'm doing a very large review on Brazil, and it's more of an analysis and that sort of thing. So I've got part one done. I've had part one done for years, and I never got around to part two. So I'm going to try to. I have the script. I've had the script already for a long time, and just never gotten back to it. So I'm going to try to move forward with that, and then I've got a whole list of movies that I'm going to work through with Overlooked. Just movies that I like. Some of them I put some scenes in there in the very first one, which was the Firefox review. Please go in and watch that. I think it's not just my review, of course, but actually the movie itself. And let's see what's going on in the movie world these days. I'm going to be right back because I get better news through my phone. So hang in there. Take 5. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back in like 30, 40 seconds. Okay. Ugh. So we've got. This is not liquor, by the way. I'm just drinking regular old flavored Hawaiian punch. A little too early for that. But let's see what we got here on the latest news. And World Report, bringing you all the latest news from around the world. Somebody's texting me. Oh boy. Okay. The Avengers. Okay, so the very first thing on my phone says the Avengers, and you probably can't see it. It's not showing up on the camera. Oh, it's probably the damn green screen. I'm sorry, but what it says is the Avengers Endgame scene that still feels forced and unnecessary. It's the very first one. This is on the Showbiz cheat sheet. However, this comes in a, let's see, okay. Everyone with a sense of equality knows women are important to the present and future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I would disagree with that statement. I would say that women characters that are specific characters, like I would say Black Widow is important to the universe. Not all women. I mean, certainly not my ex-wife, right? I mean, she important? No. I mean, it's just this whole thing like women are important. Well, no, not all women. Some women suck. What about the criminal women? Are they important? How about Black Widow is important to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Is Captain Marvel important to the Cinematic Universe? Maybe. Maybe if they made her, an enjoyable character, she'd be important. However, this comes about is sometimes complicated in a time when any action looks like a political move. That's my point, is that everything we listen to and talk about right now feels like a political thing. Feels like somebody is coming up with some political thing to try to make things, I'll put this on in case somebody rings me, try to make things shove a political point down their throat. Some fans felt divided when Avengers Endgame attempted to kick the girl power move into gear. Fans on social media still debate whether the intention behind it in Endgame was somewhat backfired from their original intent. Yeah, I think it absolutely backfired when what they did, the goal that they were trying to do, and it took all the women to fail. They were supposed to take the glove, throw it in the van, and they couldn't get it done. And so then it was up to Tony Stark. He had to give up his life. If they had succeeded, Tony Stark would still be alive. You could take it to that direction. So if this is what you're trying to show is a female empowerment moment, it failed utterly. Is this really true, or just asking for a bigger argument between men and women in film? Based on arguments from the fans, the timing was a little off to showcase a force. Was the girl power scene in Endgame too politically correct? Yes. Yes, it was. It was forced. There were people that were all over the battlefield, and in fact, I think there's moments in there where you can say, how did this person get over here when we just saw him way over here? I'm sure you could find that kind of stuff out. They all the women happened to end up in the same place. Why didn't any men end up? Were they just standing on the sidelines going, hey, let's see what the chicks can do? They fucked it up. Yes, it was forced. It was politically correct. It was done to make women feel better about themselves, to make the people who made the movie feel good about themselves. They made women look awesome. It was patronizing, guys. It was insulting. The bigger argument about this scene took place on a Reddit, where a thread about the subject started off innocuously. Users started things off showing the iconic shot of all the women lined up, this time in living color rather than in its previous black and white. As the comment progressed, talking about how great they all looked, someone came in to note an unpopular opinion. The girl power scene in Endgame ended up being too obvious. Yeah, it's toxic diversity. I think it absolutely is toxic diversity. Said the poster, I dislike that scene as it felt forced. In Infinity War, when Widow and Okoye ended up fighting Proxima Midnight, it felt organic. Yeah, it did. Because it wasn't like all the women are doing their women thing. It was like they happened to be there to save another woman who was much more powerful than them that was needed help. You're right. It felt much more organic. I didn't notice that scene as being some sort of women power scene. That power walk when they were going to help Captain Marvel, who just took down Thanos' ship on her own. Yeah, that's exactly it. The person they're going to help doesn't need the help. She doesn't need the help. She just took down the entire Thanos ship. She's a problem existing in the MCU to begin with, and they shouldn't have put her there in the first place. But there you go. Not much you can do about that. So that power walk when they were going to help Captain Marvel, who just took down Thanos' ship, was jarring and was too self-aware. I get what they were trying to accomplish, but it felt clumsy to me. It was clumsy. It was absolutely clumsy. So when comparing this scene to one in Infinity War, there really was a difference in approach. For women feeling underappreciated or underrepresented in the MCU. What does that mean, underrepresented? Well, you're not represented. What? Did I watch Terminator and feel underrepresented because there was no white men my age in that movie, in a star? The boy, John Connor was 10 or 11. The Terminator was a robot. And the hero was Sarah Connor, a white woman. I didn't sit there in that movie going, I wish there were more white men in here. I mean, who thinks that way? Who well, lefties, rioters, idiots. I mean, if this is the way you're thinking, instead of thinking this is a good story about 3 individuals and 3 characters that have their own issues and problems, no, I'm not represented on any screen. You know why? Because I'm not on any screen. White men are not me. I'm not white men. I'm me. I'm Drunken Yoda. I'm the only one that gets represented on a screen. If they're not representing me, then I'm not represented. I'm not represented in any single movie that's ever been made. I mean, that's the way everybody should be thinking. Not, oh, well, there's more white men, so it's like me up there. No, it's not you up there. You're different than other white men. You're different than other black women. You're different than everybody. Why? What? This whole thing of representation kind of is insulting to me because it strips away your individuality and just makes you everything special about you, your immutable characteristics, and what is the least things you can change about yourself, really the least important things about yourself. Hey, I'm getting a call. Let's see who's calling into the show today. Hello there, Arcanaut.
Hey, we'll see how this works. I'm on the cell network and traveling in my car, but I thought I'd give it a shot.
I can hear you just fine. I'm assuming we're not going to do video, so I won't put you up on the screen here.
No, I didn't do video because I don't have anything to set the phone in my car, and you just get a beautiful shot of my fat neck. So I said, yeah.
You should see this thing that's hanging down. Enormous.
Yeah, well, I got the same thing. It's part too much food and too much age. But were you still? I had to shut off the YouTube while I was getting this working. You still talking about Avengers Endgame?
Well, I was going a little bit over Avengers Endgame, but I was talking about. So my last comment, which you probably didn't hear, but I'll go over it, is that the idea that they wanted to put women in there because women feel underrepresented. And I took issue with the whole idea of representation. That the only person that can represent me on screen is me. And there are no Drunken Yodas on screen. There are no...
There could be.
I mean, other than YouTube. Like this that I'm doing, right? I'm not in any movie that's out there, okay? So I'm not represented in any movie. It doesn't bother me because I go to see people who aren't me, right? So this idea that you're represented because you're a part of a group that is racial, is so sickening to me these days. It's like you're missing the whole point of what all this civil rights stuff was why we did it in the first place. So if you're going to talk about representation and you're not saying, is Drunken Yoda on the screen? Is Arcanaut on the screen? Well, then you're not represented, are you? Because...
Yeah, I am also rarely represented on the screen.
Weird, I know.
Occasionally with Jeff Bridges in a film, I feel some representation. But other than that, no.
Oh, once in a while when Chris Hemsworth, I got a little bit there.
wonder how many people, they say, the people who are demanding representation, is this a whole lot of people that don't feel that they can enjoy an entertainment product?
It's screaming Twitter people who have no...
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think it's that many people saying, "Oh, I can't watch this movie. There's no one who looks close enough to me and whatever I consider my identity group for me to feel represented on this."
How small and insignificant and bland you must be as a person if the only thing special you can think about yourself is either your skin color or what hangs between your legs.
Yeah, well, I tend to identify with what is the character arc that the character is going through?
Right.
What is their relationship to the other characters in the movie? What is there a point of self-sacrifice? Is there a point of realization of regret? These are the things that resonate with me. I don't look and go, "Hey, that dude's hair is almost exactly like mine." That means something to me as I am watching this entertainment product. That makes very little sense in terms of visual representation. If you want to get larger cultural issues where, do we feel that if we dress in a specific way, if our culture is generally a certain way, or that there are certain issues that are kind of unique to our culture, then are we being represented? Well, you're not going to be represented in every movie, but you will find that there are movies that people from those cultures who want to explore unique family relationships, who want to explore there are things like that, but not every tentpole popcorn movie is going to represent everybody's experience or appearance necessarily. And when they do, it can be organic. It doesn't have to be, "Hey, let's stop the film and show everyone that we're representing right now."
Well, exactly, and I think that's... It takes away from good character writing. It takes away from good script writing. It's used as a way, the only way to elevate these characters, because you've said the only thing important about these characters is their immutable characteristics. The only thing important about the female Ghostbusters was that they were female. So if that's the best you can do with them, then you have to make every male look terrible in it, which is what they did. And
in Ghostbusters, they made everybody look terrible. I don't understand. Who's anybody supposed to really identify with in this movie?
Well, that's the backfire, isn't it?
They're all awful.
That's the backfire. See, that's the problem. Yeah. You think that you're elevating those characters by making the male characters look terrible. So that makes the female characters look bad. But the problem is that in the course of the movie, of things that actually matter, they don't do anything that really means anything, or they get it handed to them through some deus ex machina or just bad script writing. So you go, okay, they don't look good. The male characters look terrible, and I hate everybody in this movie. What have you accomplished?
Yeah, Leslie Jones' character was the closest to a real person and experiencing something that I could recognize as, oh, this might be emotion I would experience in this situation, or a real human being would experience in this situation. But even then, they had to continually sabotage that by saying, oh, there's a really stupid joke that makes no sense in the scenario or with the character, but we want to make it because we think it'll be funny. Which is just the exact opposite of the original Ghostbusters in every possible way.
And that's not the only thing. I mean, there were plenty of just bad script writing misfires that had nothing to do with politics. Like just letting them improv their way through the entire movie was a bad decision. But that was literally the worst decision of the movie. Yeah. I mean, you say I could live with an all-female Ghostbusters easily if it was well written, if the story made sense, if the villain made any sense whatsoever, if the events as they occurred didn't seem to be like a intentional misunderstanding of nostalgia and going, hey, look, remember this from the original Ghostbusters? Hey, look, here's Bill Murray. Hey, look, here's Dan Aykroyd, and he says he's not afraid of no ghost.
Here is Winston, but not Winston. It's completely wasted. You know, it just.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think it's, it was funny because I went on to my Google search on the phone, which, kind of comes up with the things that I generally get. And the first thing that came up was the Avengers Endgame scene. Like, there was a story, I guess people had a big fight on Reddit about it, on how bad it was. And I'm like going, okay, we're not the only ones that see this, We're not the only ones that are going, you're not making movies that are resonating with the individual. There's people who watch, people like me who watch Star Wars that it resonated with, like, unbelievably. And there's people who watch Star Wars that go, it's just Space Knights, who cares?
Space Wizard.
Yeah. And nobody gave it, they didn't care. I mean, not everybody loves Star Wars. They think some of the people think it's dumb. They don't like to watch this stuff. My wife, if it's not a romance movie, and she finds these god-awful romances that nobody's ever heard of, like the straight-to-video. The Kissing Booth 2. I'm like, really? Did one really necessitate a sequel?
Yeah, I think I may have seen that, sort of.
Yeah. Like, nobody cares about this shit. But she loves it. So, if that's her thing. She could care less about these bigger ones that you and I would be so passionate about. But overall, it's... God, I don't understand... So the term I didn't come up with it. Tim Pool came up with it, but I think it was a... And do you listen to him? Do you know Tim Pool?
Yeah, I listen to Tim Pool, yeah.
Yeah. So he came up with the term toxic diversity. And I think that really aptly describes what's happening with these things these days. That instead of putting in interesting characters that just happen to be a different race or a different gender, they're putting them in because they're a different race and a different gender. And they're doing it because they believe that me, the white guy, sitting there watching the movie, will be upset by it, and they want to tweet me or they want to show me how wrong I am. And that's the most insulting part to me. It's like, I have a black daughter. Go screw yourself. I don't need this shoved in my face. I already knew this before you were born, you little pissant.
So, well, that's part of the problem, too, is that seems to be the mission now. And they say, do we need to write believable characters having believable interactions? Nah. Do we need to make an interesting story, particularly? Nah. We just need to get the right people who fit the right racial or gender classifications. If we have a message, we're done. When there were a lot of communist writers in Hollywood in the 40s and 50s, when they wrote movies trying to get their message across, they still put a good plot in there. They still had compelling dialogue. They still had character arcs.
Well, and they understood that, and if you want to get into broader things, and this is really getting outside of movies and everything, but part of the problem is that people have turned politics into their new religion. I mean, that's what it is. And they act... I mean, I used to argue with religious people back in the 80s and 90s who could not be swayed by anything logical or reasonable, which... to my own detriment, I would get so angry about, because I would turn a little shitty towards them. But it does get frustrating when you're like going, like you say, oh, the Earth was created in 6,000 years ago. It's like, you see that star up there? You're seeing light that's older than that right now. You know that, right? Oh no, that was because the speed of light slowed down in the last 100 years. Oh, for God's sake. So, it's shit like that, you just go, oh, God. But these people have taken it to a whole new level, and unfortunately, they have actual, like, religion. The best thing we did was separate religion from the state, So the religious people could only be, they could be indirectly influential, but they couldn't, you couldn't just have the church of the state, right? But now we have a church of the state. And the Church of the State is run by people in Hollywood. It's run by people in bureaucracy. It's run by people in academia. It's run by people in the media. And they are all evangelizing, and they're all running their new Inquisition right now. And I can't even watch an Avengers movie without seeing this bullshit in it. And I can't watch a Star Wars movie. They've ruined Star Wars. They've ruined Star Trek. They're ruining the MCU. It started, I think, with Captain Marvel. I'm a little on the fence with Black Panther. I don't think it's as awful or as PC as people say it is. I think it was that way from the beginning in some ways, but I never thought it was that bad. But Captain Marvel...
I like Panther.
Yeah.
I like Black Panther, and I think part of what was going on there is that they were doing, and every time they did it, they said, "Hey, how does this fit into the plot? How does this work with your character?" I mean, that is the biggest problem with so much of what we call woke cinema. Is not, to me anyway, the wokeness, but it's thinking that that's it and they're done. That they don't have to worry about how it fits the character, how it fits the plot, or about the humanity of the characters themselves. The characters become archetypes, and they no longer have to have a human experience, human transition, a character arc within the story that makes sense, that would resonate with most filmgoers. And you can see the impact of that because the box office for Birds of Prey was awful. The box office for Terminator Dark Fate was awful. I went to see Terminator Dark Fate in the theater. I enjoyed my movie-going experience, but I could understand why we were the only people in the theater. Because the movie was not compelling. You didn't really recognize anything except cliches in the characters. Sarah Connor had been completely changes the character. The whole point of the original two movies was dispatched in the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's thinking, none of this old stuff matters anymore. None of the old character stuff, all the things, the hero's journey of Star Wars, that was stupid. That was something old people, white people did. We got to get rid of all that. But that's the stuff that resonates with people. Even people eventually say that, yeah, I'm not really into the Birds of Prey. I don't care about the Birds of Prey. So it sabotages what they're trying to accomplish in terms of box office.
Well, I do have a lot of concerns sometimes, and I think this is a cultural divide that I really don't know how to bridge anymore, if we ever can. But I remember even 15, 20 years ago, how many of the African Americans idolized Scarface. That was like their favorite movie. Now, Scarface is a good movie. I'm not saying it isn't a good movie. But for God's sakes, that is a cautionary tale.
Oh, it's a good movie.
But the whole movie is a tragedy and a cautionary tale. It's not like he is so cool. I want to be, except for the ending where you get killed. I want to do all that. I'm like going, wow, you guys are missing the point on this movie entirely. It is such a tragic movie, and that we had a whole culture that thought that was the way to go. And another culture that said, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, the only good people in that movie get killed. Quickly, there are not many good people in that movie, but everybody gets hurt and tainted by Pacino's character. Killed, hurt, destroyed. So many lives are destroyed in that movie. But all they see is the big house, I guess. I don't know. They saw the power and that kind of thing. So
the power, the whip, the money.
Yeah, and I'm going, there's something wrong when you're idolizing that character. And like I said, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic movie, but the message is tragedy, it's of damage, it's of destruction. It's not of, this is cool. And we're elevating the bad in so many ways, and just people are getting used, and then when I hear people cheer, like I hear women cheer that in that Endgame moment when I was in the theater, just cheering because it was women, girl power, and everything. It's like, I didn't cheer because a bunch of men were on the screen. I cheered because Captain America was on the screen.
The Captain America picking up Thor's hammer. That was awesome.
That was awesome.
The group girl shot, I was okay with it. I mean, it didn't bother me, but it added absolutely nothing to the movie, really. But I kind of understand hero shots. They do that sometimes. They'll throw all the girls together. Fine. I don't. That doesn't. I don't.
I want the girls in there with the guys.
Yeah, I mean, that
I don't want a guys only shot either. I don't. I don't want a guys only shot.
The guy side of the battlefield and the girl.
I don't need a sausage party, guys. Come on, let's get some of the women's in here. No, well, that's just it. Look, let me put it this way. I think it's the same thing. Would you have you say I loved it when Captain America lifted Thor's hammer? I did too. That was great. What would you have thought if every male character could lift Thor's hammer?
That would have damaged the overall.
It would have sucked.
Yeah, I mean, it would have sucked because, Tony can't lift Thor's hammer. Come on.
Right. That's my point. To me, that was all the women just lifted Thor's hammer scene.
Yeah.
That's what that was. And it was stupid and irrelevant and did not need to be there.
But still, that movie was 1 million times better than Ghostbusters 2016, which was a travesty put on film.
Have you seen my review on that? I keep plugging it, but I think it was one of my more angry reviews. I don't even call it a review. It's more of I tore it apart. A little bit blanket style.
Well, I will definitely, I may have watched it, but I will definitely watch it again now that you mentioned it, just to make sure that I've seen it and absorbed everything. A lot of those things I watch while doing work, so sometimes I tune out of the wisdom.
No, why, thank you, sir. I can checks in the mail. The best. You know what? I'm done. I don't want to talk about this crap anymore. It drives me crazy. What have you got on your plate, sir? Is there something you have called in? I want to give you a chance. You've got the microphone. What would you like to talk about?
Oh, man, I hate to tell you this, that I'm about to get off, but I just wanted to call in and do my part to the live action. But on my plate today is like groceries and picking up my daughter from taking the ACT, which I could go on for a long time about how that was, because it was difficult. They wanted photo ID or a sheet where you sign it and the teacher signs it, but all this was done after the COVID, so we couldn't get to a teacher to sign it, so I was going to have it notarized. But they wouldn't notarize it without a photo ID, which is like, I wouldn't be getting this notarized if I had a photo ID for it. So I sent her in with her birth certificate and her expired passport and everything else we had. And I think they're actually letting her take the test. Otherwise, I'm sure she would have called me by now to complain.
Sure.
So I think all is well. But that's been my day. So I just wanted to call in since I knew you were broadcasting and I had a chance while I was driving to say hey to Drunk Yoda and bloviate about opinions that no one should really care about for myself.
I appreciate it.
To support the LMO.
Well, thank you for jumping on, and I had a good time. I've been going for an hour and a half now, so that's usually a good stopping point. So I'll just kind of do some cleanup here. But if you like this video, please hit that like button, smash that like button. If you don't like it, hit the dislike button twice or 6 times. It doesn't matter, as long as it's an even number. Then if you would please subscribe to this channel. I will put this out in podcast form. If you do a search on iTunes or most of the podcast apps, if you do a search for Outpost Frequencies, you should be able to find it. But we do have it on podcast form. If you go to lastmovieoutpost.com, you'll see all the podcasts right there on the front page, and you can get the podcast link from there as well. Please come to lastmovieoutpost.com. We have movie news, streaming news, reviews, and all kinds of things that we are updating daily. So we try to keep you up to date with the latest that's going on in the movie and entertainment industry, which unfortunately right now is not much. So we're struggling through as best as we can. And keep watching this channel. I've got more videos on the way. Arcanut, you got any last words?
Go to lastmovieoutpost.com, the last true entertainment site on the internet.
Well, thank you very much.
Talk to you later, man. Bye.
Take care. And all of you out there, I appreciate you sticking with us this whole time, sticking with me rambling on. And we will see you on the next stream. Take care of yourself.